This is UTEL Concerts. This is UTEL Concerts. This is UTELConcerts.com.
Hey, I'm Justin, and I sing for Shai Hulud.
I'm Matt, the guy in the sweatpants, and I play guitar for Shai. Yeah, you got him. I mean, I guess any signing with a label would be considered a break. I think a lot of people would giggle at the statement of Shai Hulud getting a break in general. But we started as young kids, as all bands did, you know, just because we wanted to replicate the emotions that we felt when we listened to our favorite music. And so we started doing that in a warehouse. I guess that break was I was working at a record store, and we dealt directly with record labels. You know, our original guitar player Oliver would deal with Victory. He would order from them, and I would order from Revelation Records. And I just became intentionally so. Sorry, Jeannie. But Jeannie, the mail order girl at the time, you know, I thought I'm gonna work my way in to be friends with Revelation Records. Keep in mind, I was a young kid, so this was like the coolest thing. Revelation put out Chain of Strength, Judge, Youth of Today, all my favorite bands. So I got to be friendly with Jeannie, and then one day just casually mentioned, hey, my band's recording a demo. I'd been talking to her for about a year now, so now we have a good rapport. Oh, you have a band. You send it to me. If it's any good, I could get you signed. Well, what's your address? You know? And it was simple as that. It was all premeditated. What I didn't anticipate was that we would get signed to Revelation's sub-label, which was Crisis. But it was still a great thing. We got on Crisis, Revelation, and then hence Revelation a few years later. And that's how we broke into the scene.
I think just being a constant in the music scene, now that there's like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, it's so much easier to like make yourself known and stuff like that. So, you know, you can always constantly update people on what's going on, even just stupid things of like, hey, we just wrote this riff, or like, hey, we're like hanging out here today, you know, and just kind of always like keeping people involved in what you're doing helps a lot. And then just constantly, you know, being able to write records and put new music out obviously is the key. And touring, you know, the band tours a lot, and just try to, you know, just keep up the relevance of Shai Hulud.
What he's talking about is extremely important. I also think the core of everything, to me anyway, the bands that may not have a presence that have kept me as a fan is because they connected to me in my heart or in my mind. And that's what Shai Hulud means to do. So I think, I should say, I hope that when and if our music does connect with somebody on a deeper level, 5, 10, 20 years between albums, they will stick around. So I think all of those things combined make for a real well-oiled unit to keep your band relevant and current without having mainstream airplay. The first thing that comes to mind was when I was working at that record store that I mentioned. There was an older guy. Now I say older. Now I'm 40, so for all I know, this guy could have been 39 at the time. But being a 20-year-old kid, he was an older guy. How old that was, I don't know. You know, when you're 20, someone who's 40 could be 70.
Exactly.
And that's the impression that I have of him. Remembering, I think of him as a 70-year-old, but he's probably in his 30s. He was just an old rock guy, and he would come in. I would show him new hardcore bands that I was into, and he would show me some of the rock bands that he liked. And the reason I bring this up is because he said, I gave him our demo, and he came in, he goes, yeah, don't really like it. Song comes in too abruptly, you know, and he started saying these different things. Okay, all right, I understand. You know, he had his points, and I realized that it differed from Deep Purple, you know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the reason I mention it is because he says, you want the best piece of advice? And I said, yeah, obviously. And he says, always play music for you. And at the time, I thought, the hell is he talking about? Who am I going to play it for? And even now, 20 years later, I still don't exactly know what he means by that, but I have my own meaning, and that involves the writing process. Because after our first album, the first album, we were kids, and all we did was pick up guitars and we wrote and we played. Then we got some notoriety, or some people liked this band, and there was expectations. We can't wait for the new Shai Hulud. What are these guys going to come up with next? That was the first time in my life I felt pressure from playing music. You know what I mean? Because all right, well, so do I copy what we wrote before? You know, I'm kind of learning new things. Is that okay? And you can tell the difference between our first album and our second album was, it's a stark difference. It's still rooted in the foundation of hardcore and metal, but the second album has a lot more musical depth. We learned what true harmony was. You know, we did basic melodies and really standard guitar patterns on the first album, and then somewhere along the line before the second album, something opened in myself and our bass player Matt, who really co-wrote the album with me, and we said, well, we've done this in the past. Did you ever think about doing this? You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, there were new ideas on top of the foundation, and we got nervous. And the music changes. To answer a little more directly, I told you I'd meander. To answer a little more directly, the music changes upon all different types. I mean, forget about your thoughts and emotions, but also just what you learn, and for the sake of not wanting to repeat yourself. And we've evolved definitely from album to album. And always, what stays in my head, tying it in a nice little loop, is, why am I writing this? You know, sometimes I even question myself. Am I trying to be smart? Am I trying to evoke emotion? Am I trying to please myself? Am I trying, or less noble, am I trying to make some kid mosh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know it sounds silly, someone watching this might be rolling their eyes, but these are the silly thoughts that you go through when you want to write good material and you want people to relate with it. It's got to be genuine. And I think... What's that?
Kids got a mosh.
Kids got a mosh. Kids got a mosh.
That's the bottom line.
So if you want to cut through all that and get to the core of it, the kids got a mosh.
3 words. The first concert I ever went to was Van Halen when I was like in 7th grade. My dad took me.
Mine too.
Oh.
There you go. And it was awesome. It was definitely awesome. And then probably one of the most recent things I've seen that was really great. I really like this band called The Hold Steady, and I saw them play around Christmas last year, and it was like great. It was awesome. One of the best times I've had. So that's probably my most current.
My first concert, Van Halen did play, though I went for Metallica. This was, a while ago. Right after Cliff Burton died, right before And Justice for All, and it was the Monsters of Rock tour. Kingdom Come, Metallica, who I went for, Dokken, Scorpions, and Van Halen. And that was a great concert. Not my favorite that I've ever been to, but it was, that was a monumentous event for me. My favorite concert is pretty easy, and I don't know if it's truly my favorite concert or if I just keep saying that it is, so it's become that. But I'll give you the answer I tell everybody else. My favorite concert was seeing Fishbone with no support in 1990 or 91 on Long Island, a place called Club Spit. They were so awesome. I cried. I cried. It is my favorite concert. Not because I remember the feelings that I don't know that any band has given me live that kind of feeling that I got at that Fishbone show.